Hello, I'm Jason Lillywhite with Lillywhite Water Solutions. Today I'm excited to show you something that has traditionally been a major technical challenge, hosting a complex, computationally heavy GoldSim model directly in a web browser. GoldSim is a dynamic simulation tool that is very diverse and flexible in what you can simulate with it. A lot of the models that are built with GoldSim are complex and require a lot of computational power. So that's one part of what makes it hard to host such a tool on a website, but also having the ability of concurrency, allowing multiple people to run the model at the same time. If this is running on a browser, then multiple users could be accessing it at the same time. The other thing is security, making sure that the site is secure. And so what I'm going to do is demonstrate this tool. I have an example that is hosted on my website that you can find at lillywhitewater.com. So let's go ahead and dive right in. If you go to the showcase, go to live demos, and when you go here, you'll see some examples that you can enter right out of the box, but these are simpler. Um, the GoldSim example, because it is running on AWS EC2 server, it's I don't want just anyone going in and running that. I've required that this one you need to log in, and there's a secure login. And you could also, if you decide that you want to have your GoldSim model hosted on my website, you can. There are many different options on login that I can talk about later. But for now, we'll just go ahead and um, look at the demo. So to do that, if you haven't already registered, then to see this model, you'll need to access the portal where this lives, and just click there, and then you have to create an account. And so in my case, I've already got an account, so I'll go ahead and sign in. There are options to use two-factor authentication, but I've bypassed that for now. And okay, so here is the model, this first one. This is a integrated water resources management type model example. Quite a large, complex model, but it doesn't take a long time. I just wanted to provide one that takes a while to run, but doesn't make people wait 30 minutes or something for it to run. In this case, it only takes about 4 seconds to run this particular simulation. So what we have here is a simple dashboard that I provided, and in a case of a GoldSim model, what you want is the audience or the end users of your model to be able to play with it, right? You want them to try out scenarios. You want them to not necessarily poke around in the model too much, but from an end user's perspective, you want them to be able to um, play with the model in a way that answers their questions about the system itself. And a good way to do that is to let them play with it live by allowing them to change certain parameters. And this is the important part. We can provide them a kind of a sandbox or a way to play with parameters in a very controlled way, right? We can provide, in this example, we have sliders. There are other input controls that we could put in here, but we've got sliders that have bounds on them that we've already tested beforehand to make sure that anywhere that they move this slider and any combination of these sliders is not going to put the model into a situation, into an edge case that we haven't seen before, and you know do something that's unexpected with the model. So this is a very controlled environment, but still gives the end user the ability to play with a lot of things. Now in this case, we only have 5 different inputs. You could have a lot more. We could have multiple pages of inputs if you wanted. But in this case, you can come in here and you can say, oh yeah, the indoor demand. So this is a model, and by the way, to learn about this model, you can double click on the screen captures here, so you can browse through the model, looking at the different aspects. Here's the hydrology of this model. It looks at climate information, simulates snowpack and snowmelt, also calculates watershed runoff, and then We do calculations of water demand for a municipality that's growing over time, and that's both with indoor and outdoor water use. We look at also agricultural water demands based on crop type and based on the climate data that's driving this as well. And then we also have a flow network where there's water that has to be delivered to these demands, and there's perhaps a complex flow network that delivers that. In this case, it's a river diversion and a reservoir that's being operated to deliver that water. So you could add more to this, but essentially this is it's kind of a simplistic representation of this kind of integrated water resources type of a model. Okay, so we could kind of give the end user a basic idea. We could also include documentation of the model and so forth. And then what we can do is once we've decided on, okay, here are the inputs that I want to um, provide to the model, then we just go ahead and click Run Simulation. Scroll down a little bit here. And so now what's happening is we're going to the back end on my server, and this is a AWS EC2 server. Um, and it's not the fastest one, but just to save money for myself, to be able to do this demonstration, it's it's not taking very long to run it. This is a little bit longer than if you were to run this on your desktop, just because it has to pass some information back, but not a lot more. It's pretty fast, and it gives I have this little panel down here to describe some of the information, like what was the peak CPU, what was the approximate memory that was used during that run. Also, how long did it take to pass that information back over to your web browser? Now, if you had a lot of data that's coming back that this could take, I mean, this was very fast, 194 milliseconds is pretty fast, but um, and then also how much data did you transfer? That's this egress input here. So I didn't transfer very much information, but you could imagine where more complex models, perhaps you'd want to transfer a lot more data to the browser for viewing. Um, but in this case, it's pretty simple. We can also double click on this chart, and in this chart now we can uh, use your mouse to scroll in to certain areas of interest, and then you can pan back and forth to look in detail at the chart. So it gives you some pretty good information about what's going on with this particular model in a pretty simplistic way, but having it hosted on the web makes it a lot easier for your clients, your end users, your audience to view this model. And we could provide a lot of options on how they might view, or who might have access to this model. So it doesn't have to be public. We could create a situation where we only allow certain access to certain users. And it could be all secure behind a two-factor authenticated secure site as well. So that's the extent of this particular model, and I will hope to be showing more similar to this in the future. If you have any questions, you can go to my website and find me there. I'm also open to ideas if you have certain GoldSim modeling ideas that you want to have hosted, or even if it's another type of hydrological model that runs on a Windows system, desktop environment that is, traditionally challenging to host on a website. Look me up and I could give you some ideas and help you out. All right, thanks for watching.